Good morning, this is Dave Knight with Brenda McGrath on Thursday's Big Lunch.
Hello, welcome to Thursday's Big Lunch and the usual banter, chat, news, views and interviews and community readouts. Liverpool Community Radio is an internet radio station staffed by volunteers who have completed the LCR training course. Our website is www.l-c-r.co.uk, where you can listen to podcasts of all our shows and also access the training courses. You can tweet us to tell us what you think at LCR, email to studio@l-c-r.co.uk, or text to 0789 0119 887. I'll repeat that, 0789 0119 887 to tell us what you think. On our show today we have guests Dave Minahan, ex-lay president of Unite, that means he's come from the membership, talking with Councillor Roy Gladden about Labour and unions and issues leading up to the general election. They're all also going to do the newspapers with us. At 1 o'clock we hope to have in Don Billington, who's a gardener, or a horticulturalist actually, going to talk about small gardens and allotments. And then at about 1:15 we've got Steve Kahn, the local singer-songwriter. So Dave, how was your weekend?
Well, my weekend didn't go quite as planned. As I said last week, I was supposed to be going to this model railway exhibition up in Southport. Sadly, I was working Saturday night. They needed emergency cover, so I offered to do it, and I went home, went to get a couple of hours sleep on Sunday morning and woke up at 4 o'clock. So
you didn't get time to go?
No, but instead what happened, it was I had planned Saturday to go, and I did go to the international Shotokan karate competition, which is like
oh yeah, you've done martial arts, haven't you?
Yeah, but I'm actually a judo coach.
Still do it?
Not at the moment.
So what, did you get a black belt?
No.
So how can you be a judo coach then? How does that work?
Because a coaching qualification is the ability to teach the sport. Because of you can hear my breathing. I have a condition called COPD. The smoker's disease, but I've never smoked.
But you always had COPD?
Oh yeah, I was virtually born with it.
That's very unusual. That's congestive airways disease.
Yes.
But that's not COPD stands for, but that's basically it usually happens when you've had lots of bronchitis and there's been irreversible damage done to your lungs.
Yeah.
So how did that happen, Dave?
Well, apparently I was born premature.
So you were weakened at that time.
And they didn't have the level of treatment that they have nowadays.
No.
So as a result, I was off school, in primary school, quite a lot with bronchitis, and this has been the knock-on effect.
So you were not very well as a child then?
No, I wasn't.
So how did that affect you?
Well, it meant I wasn't as good at sports as I would probably have liked to be.
Yeah. And
in this case with the judo, I could never compete because I could never sustain a contest standard. So there is an alternative way of getting my black belt. It's slower, but it's an academic way, where you get marks towards black belt whenever you win competitions, which in my case.
So really, the interest in judo gave you an out then, isn't it? It gave you an outlet as a
oh yeah,
boy.
It did, because I was bullied at school.
But why? Because you were a bit sickly and so on.
Well, yes, I also have a skin condition called ichthyosis, which is actually spelled ichthyosis. Yeah. It's a form of dry skin, and
but it's not. Is it similar to psoriasis?
It's very similar to psoriasis, but whereas psoriasis can come and go, this is a permanent condition.
So where'd you have that, Dave? Because you don't look as though you've got one. It's not on your face. I mean, you're not stripped off here, so we can't tell.
A lot of people have said that I look younger than my actual age, and it's because for as long as I can remember, I've been using one form of moisturiser or
like
another.
Like E45 or something, yeah.
But
like an E45.
It's like, well, one of them is like an E45.
So if you don't use it, it just goes very tight and itchy.
Yes. Also, it goes. It's a bit like having head to toe dandruff.
Oh, so it's scaly.
So sometimes if I forget to put it on and I go out.
Is that everywhere? Is that just?
Oh yeah, it's my whole body. My hands and my feet have become like they look like armour. It looks rather. The reason I was
every
mocked
morning
because it looks reptilian.
You put stuff on, do you, when you get off?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically that keeps it down.
I use it 3 or 4 times a day.
But it's not painful. It could be if you let it
No,
go.
the only thing is it can itch a lot.
Yeah.
And, people...
So at school, because, the children could see this, presumably, they tortured you, did they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, how awful.
Yes, it was.
Aren't they awful kids to each other?
Oh, yes. And
Shocking.
I was very fortunate because I had a lot of very supportive friends, very good friends.
And your parents, and presumably.
Parents were rather indifferent. They didn't know how to deal with the situation. They did help me with some of the bullying, but a lot of it I was sort of having to handle myself. And when I took up judo, a very peculiar incident happened where one of my favourite teachers passed a remark. He was one of the boys, this guy, and he passed a remark, and it kicked off one of the bullies.
Right.
And I snapped. And I nearly put them in hospital.
How old were you then?
15.
So you fought back?
I started to fight back.
And then it became okay then?
Well, a lot of the bullies backed off when they realised that I was...
the bullies, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
If they're frightened, they don't like being frightened.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but, that must have given you... I often think with people who've had long-standing problems, because in my job I deal with patients, and some of them, they have diabetes or what they call Still's disease, which is arthritis in children. They have probably a dimension to the personality because they're used to suffering, and they're usually very decent people actually, and very rather kind, and sort of tolerant of other things.
Well, a lot of them know what it's like to suffer. I had a friend at school, sadly we lost touch, who he had an eyesight problem, which meant that he had to wear, at one point there were blue glasses and another time they were pink.
Oh, yeah.
And of course he took some stick over that.
Yeah.
And I sort of started to chat to him, saying, I know how you feel. And at first his reaction was quite hostile. But then when he realised that I was sincere, we actually became very good friends.
Yeah.
As I say, until we left school.
Yeah, well, I've never had problems. I've had quite a tragic life on a personal level since I grew up. It wasn't as a child. But from when I'm quite a young woman, lost my husband quite early in a road accident and things like that, and I brought my kids up. And I think that does give you a connection and insight into other people's suffering when that's happened to you.
Yes, it does.
Those sort of losses don't happen to people till they're older.
Yeah.
But if it happens to you when you're younger, it gives you a different view and dimension on life as well. Because you can understand how other people are, which you would never normally have been exposed to until you were much older.
Well, that works right across the board. There's a lot of people who when they've had some sort of suffering themselves, they start thinking about other people's suffering. And it can be life-changing for them because they start thinking, well, can I do something to help this person?
Not only that, I think you appreciate every day as well.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas you don't take much for granted. Right, should we have some music and then we'll get our first guest in?
Okay.
Well, we'll have the newspapers and get our guest in who will help us with the newspapers.
Okay. I've got here one by the river by a band called 69 Watts. Let's see how this sounds.
turn you on, but your ship is sinking. You got cold cause you got no sun. You got no sun. You got no sun. You got no sun. You get cold cause you got no sun.
You know, that was unusually loud for this time in the morning.
I think we maybe have to listen to the music first, Dave, before we put them on. What do you reckon?
Quite, yeah, definitely.
Anyway, welcome back to Liverpool Community Radio. I'm here with Brendan McGrath and Dave Knight, and we have our first guests in. So we've got Dave Minahan. Say hi, Dave.
Hi.
And Councillor Roy Gladden. Now, yeah.
That's more formal.
Now, yes, yes. Now, Dave is a community. He's a Labour Party activist, and most of his sort of formative years and so forth, were, as well as working, of course, were spent in the what is now Unite, but it was MSF at that time, wasn't it? So you were sort of a union activist,
Yes.
and at one time ended up by being what they call a lay president of Unite. Is that
Correct,
right?
yeah, 1995 to 96.
So you had to be voted in by the membership to do that.
I did, yes.
Yeah. So you must have been. They must have really respected you to do that at that time. Yeah.
I'd like to think so, although I think it was more our machine was a little bit better organised than the opposing
Oh, I
machine.
see. Bit of entryism there going on. and Councillor Roy Gladden is councillor now, but Roy was a union convener for many years, weren't you, Roy?
I was, yes.
And which union was that for?
That was a GMB.
Right, and you did. I mean, you were very, very high profile in that, weren't you? In the sense that you organised a lot of things, and you were. What was your official title?
I was a convener within the Liverpool City Council. I was also the secretary of the Joint Trade Union Committee.
That's the one
within the council itself, which at that point was many tens of thousands of members.
And then you sort of reached retirement age, and you became